All right. What's up, everyone? We're back again with another video coming for you. We hope you guys have been watching, liking, and subscribing. We appreciate you, the people who have been.
Yes, we do. What?
Nothing. Episode 110. Roll that intro.
Did you know that Europe is too old? I'm just kidding.
So the video that we're going to do today is by Hoog. We've done a few videos by him already. But it's called Europe is Too Old. So let's see what our boy has to say here. And let's begin.
What you're looking at is a population pyramid for the European Union. It shows the percentage of the population at different stages of life. The percentage of people within the retirement bracket, the people that are of working age that support the elderly population through their taxes, and the youngest, ranging from late 20s to teenagers and children. A population pyramid is one of the most robust visuals for understanding society because it's one of the clearest for identifying a particular stage of development in a country. This pyramid shows that Europe's fertility rate is declining. The share of Europe's population that is old is increasing, and the share of the population that is young is declining. And I think it needs to be abundantly clear to people why continued quick decline in fertility rates is a problem and why it's a particular problem for Europe.
It's not a problem. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like this is happening everywhere, I think. But it's not so much of like, I feel like it has to do with way more of like, it just seems more financially hard to get ahead as time goes on. So I think a lot less people are choosing to have less kids.
You're just saying people can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think, what it comes down to.
Exactly.
I don't even think it's all of Europe. I think there's certain parts of Europe where it's probably
declining
more than...
I know it's declining in Japan, too. They were pretty surprised about that. Yeah.
Societies move through demographic stages. Stage 1 is when death and birth rates are both high. Pre-industrialization, this was the reality for most of human society throughout history. Stage 2 is when death rates begin to fall, but birth rates remain high. General standards of living improve, which reduces the death rates, but high fertility still seems economically useful. The more children, the more potential providers when you're older. Stage 3 is when birth rates also begin to play catch-up. This is usually the result of children having a lower benefit than they used to, and improvements in women's position in society reducing the demand for them to bear children. Where Europe and the rest of the developed world are is around stage 4. Death rates are low and birth rates are also low, and around 1/2 of the world's population lives in countries below the fertility rate that would keep their populations constant. Europe has a 1.53 fertility rate, and without including migration, Europe would be experiencing a population decline. What will come after stage 4 is unclear. Death rates will probably stay low. What will happen to fertility is something we still need to figure out. Some say it will increase back to around 2.1, the replacement fertility, while others paint a bleaker picture, that birth rates will continue to decline. The logic is relatively simple. Old people cost money, and Europe is going to have a lot of them. The key measure here to understand is the old age dependency ratio, the amount of working age people that support a single elderly person. Most European state pension systems have a large part coming from a pay-as-you-go system, which means the retirement benefits of the current retirees are being financed by the people who are currently working, with the expectation that future generations will finance you when you're older. Over the next couple of decades, as the amount of old people increases in Europe and the amount of young people reduce, the dependency ratio will push pension expenditures to increase. For every person in the EU older than 65 years old in 2019, there were almost 3 people aged between 20 and 64. By 2040, this ratio would fall to just 2, decreasing further to 1.7 people of working age for every person older than...
When it falls to 1 and 1, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. I'm honestly shocked that they aren't making it more difficult on old people. I mean, this is Europe, not America. Because I know a lot of people have thought they were going to retire recently, especially through the pandemic.
Well, this is happening here, too. I'm pretty positive.
I think it's worse.
Yeah, there's probably less kids.
Well, I don't mean the, like, caretaker to
Oh, you got
elderly ratio. I think I meant more like, weren't like pensions and things kind of like pushed and like taken away, and like Social Security was like halted for a little bit.
I'm not exactly sure, but I know that they're
I remember hearing about it a few years ago.
yeah, I saw something recently that was saying that by like 2040 the Social Security is going to run out.
Yeah, and I mean, like in France, weren't they like protesting because they were trying to extend
Yeah, yep.
retirement a couple years?
Yeah.
A few years, I think. I just like, I feel like by the time we're old, like in our 60s,
It's going to be a mess.
I don't think retirement's gonna be.
It's going to be a
It's
mess.
probably like 70 years old.
Yeah, cuz there's a lot of especially here, and I think it's probably too like in other places, there's a lot of younger and then also like close to retirement age people competing in the workplaces. Like there's a lot, like people are, like you were saying, staying on their jobs longer. So it's harder for younger people to come in and get jobs too.
Yeah, they're saying like boomers and like millennials are
Competing in the job
fighting
force.
for
Yeah.
work opportunities.
Which
yeah.
I feel like it's never been as much as it is now.
I don't
before.
think so.
Yeah.
And 65 years old in 2070. Old people carry costs, much like incredibly overweight people do. You have a pool of insurance money that is spent when a person requires medical assistance. Increase the amount of people in that pool that have a higher likelihood to need medical assistance, and you can expect the
Yeah.
insurance money to need to rise in turn. What makes this situation more uncomfortable is that the stage of future developments in health technology is relatively uncertain. If we were to just account for the age increases, we can expect public health expenditure in the EU to grow from 6.6% of GDP to 7.7%. However, if we saw an increasing life expectancy with little to no gains in health status for the old, we could imagine it becoming even more expensive.
Damn.
People matter because people produce, and people at different stages of their life produce in different amounts. Although it might be potentially a taboo topic, a declining share of the population that is young may put more pressure on the relevancy of Europe, and this video, I can assure you, will not be the only place you'll see making this argument. Europe is the oldest continent on average, and its share of global GDP is declining. There really aren't any perfect solutions to this problem. You can make older generations work longer, boost migration to increase the labor force, and incentivize Europeans to have more children. But each of these solutions comes with their own set of difficulties. In 2019, Macron tried to raise the pension age from 62 to 64. However, when Macron took actions to increase the retirement age, which would have reduced the burden on the taxable class in the future, this wasn't taken lightly.
Yeah.
Another potential solution that's much less controversial is migration. Need more people that can support the elderly population, just bring in more workers. But there's a trade-off here, and there will probably not be enough migration to make a serious enough dent in the trajectory towards an aging European society.
But from what I've seen, and you guys live in Europe, so you let me know, but I've seen that I don't know how many years it's been happening, but there are a lot of migrants coming into like the UK and other places in Europe, like Spain and stuff like that. So I'm guessing maybe they're trying to add them to the labor force, but I'm not exactly sure.
Are you talking about like refugees, or are you talking about
Both, just like immigrants too, coming over to like get a higher pay and stuff.
Doesn't that take a while though to like, I guess, like acclimate people?
I don't know.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm learning a lot right now because I didn't like. I've always been someone that's very much like, okay, who cares if we're underpopulated? Like
But-
humans,
Yeah.
like we're pretty egotistical as a species to assume that we're, you know,
I know.
important enough to
But then
keep populating.
I think then we'll run into major issues down the line if we obviously don't have enough young people and too many old people.
Totally. But then you can't blame people for not wanting to reproduce either.
I think there would have to be a big financial like, how do I say it?
Incentive, which is already apparently a thing there. I know that here
And yeah, here we have that too,
they
like the
started
child tax
that a few
credit
years
thing.
ago. Yeah.
And I think like in Australia, they also pay you if you have kids. I remember because when Michelle was there, someone she knew, they were getting paid for having kids.
I don't know what the benefit of it is. Kids are fucking expensive. Like,
Well, also
You're not.
things
They're
are
not paying fully. I don't know Australia. Here, they're not paying
Yeah.
anywhere near what a kid costs.
and there's also things are like some things are almost like 100% more expensive than before COVID. Here,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure
Inflation?
over there too. Yeah, so it's
I'm
like
sure it's globally. Yeah.
like if things have just been getting so expensive, the cost of living's been higher, and wages aren't really like catching up at all. Like they're way behind. Actually, I saw a graph that was saying because of like the cost of everything that wages have actually like stayed the same since the 60s here because of the cost
That's
of everything and
crazy.
like how it fluctuates in inflation and everything. But
That's crazy.
I don't know how accurate it is, but that it sounds about right because that makes sense why people wouldn't want to have kids, because it just seems like so many people are barely making it. Why would I want to add stress to a child's life in that situation?
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to.
I don't know.
Sorry, I can't imagine having a kid in this economy.
Yeah.
Also, the impacts of migrants is relatively unknown. It's not that migrants wouldn't have any impact on the burden of social programs, but in the same way that improving health technology is something that we can't exactly predict, the marginal benefits of a specific migrant and their associated impact on the tax base is also relatively unknown. In addition, arguing about whether migrants should or should not be encouraged to enter the European Union is also a relatively useless discussion. because-
Right. Also, because like, what if some people migrating are old and now need caretaking too?
Yeah.
Not like at the last end of their life, but like
They
on
probably-
the other side.
They probably wouldn't want to bring in older immigrants. They probably want to bring them in younger, like 18, 19.
Right,
20,
but you can't. I don't think you're gonna tell old people, no, sorry, you're too old.
Yeah, I know.
Because Europe might not even be in a position where they can get enough migrants
Maybe,
to
I
make a
don't know.
noticeable impact on the old age dependency ratio in the first place. There are other countries out there that are also facing the same problems, and they will also be on the market for a labor force that can boost the overall tax base and reduce a deficit. That's
Hmm.
also why it should be of no surprise that the EU is reforming their migration policies in order to attract more highly skilled workers through making things like their Blue Card initiative, which is basically a European Green Card, more generous. Europeans also intimately understand that increasing support for larger inflows of migrants is probably politically infeasible and could legitimize critiques by the European electorate who are concerned that they've delegated too much authority to an institution that removes their ability of choosing who they want to come into their country or not.
Damn.
Higher shares of older
I
populations.
will say,
That's fucked.
Europe, you guys know how to like get a protest together way better than us.
I guess it depends where in Europe.
Yeah, no, well, it seems like overall in Europe, you guys band together a lot more for things. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Populations are associated with anti-EU votes. And although the literature has been mixed on this, research by the European Commission itself has reported that there is an association between the presence of migrants from outside of the EU and a respective anti-EU vote. Obviously, the anti-EU sentiment can be mediated by the skill level of the migrant, but it does put the European Union in a potentially uncomfortable scenario.
That's weird,
Reduce
yeah.
some of the pressure on its social programs by bringing in an external labor force, but risk anti-establishment sentiment. In 2019, Viktor Orban unveiled his Family Protection Action Plan, which would give potentially thousands of euros to women who give birth to enough children, offering 30,000 euros of interest-free loans that would be cancelled upon the birth of a woman's third child. Although seemingly popular among Orban supporters and also weirdly among conservative pundits,
That's
in the
I'm
Interesting.
sorry. I just feel like some men look at women as just like cattle. Like,
well, no, I understand that too, but I think he like there's a part of that thought about it. It's like because they're saying that they're gonna give the money and then you won't have to pay it back.
right, they said they'll cancel the loan once you give birth. Okay, what if you have a miscarriage?
I'm sure they're not gonna.
I'm just being honest. Like, there's so many factors that, like, or what if your baby's disabled?
Yeah, I know.
You're gonna
Yeah.
pay for, you know what I'm saying? There's so,
Yeah.
it's still a huge risk.
It's not black and white.
Yeah. And $30,000 is nothing. Nothing.
Well, they would.
You're gonna get through maybe a year of that kid's life with
They
that.
said once you hit 3 kids, you won't have to pay it back.
Absolutely not. I'm thinking one child. It's nothing. Sorry.
Wait.
I don't like I just don't like some
Well,
politicians.
it would honestly be a little better
Mm.
probably if a woman had more of an say in a draft of something like this to.
Oh, if a woman could speak for women, oh my God, what a world!
That's what I'm saying. Like it
What
might
a
feel a
world.
little better and also might be thought out better for the woman actually if a woman was planning it and saying
Listen,
like this is
if
what they
your
need and this
problem
is that.
Is a low population. Find out why
It
and make it easier. like just throwing money and incentivizing people is only going to do so much. And you're also going to attract the wrong people, because some people don't realize how expensive kids are.
And they'll just pop them out to get the money.
Okay, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I know. No, I know. And then you get people who are going to abuse that system to just like not really. I'm saying this happens probably a small percentage. It happens here for sure too, to get like that tax credit now, especially the people will just have kids without even really wanting to or being prepared for it, just to get like the little bit of money that they're going to give you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very little bit of money. And
Yeah.
and to some
And that screws the kid
people,
over.
that's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
But
But
that
it's like,
screws, it
yeah.
screws the kid over eventually, because you don't have the right.
I mean, I'm not going to say everyone's the same. Like, you know, maybe some people are smart about it or
yeah,
whatever,
I'm sure there
but,
are. I'm sure there are.
I can't stand Tucker Carlson. Why they?
He's been going AWOL lately on Twitter.
I don't even want to know.
States, just injecting money and hoping to produce babies is more difficult than it seems, and it will probably take a while before we see any long-term impact. Assuming that these policies will make a significant dent, there's also an important question about which one comes first. Interest-free loans of $30,000 are by no means cheap, so can they work in time to offset the additional costs that an increasingly older population will produce? To find an answer to that question is a matter of time. The reason why Europe may face a larger problem with its dependency ratio than a country like the United States, besides the fact that the US is younger generally, is that the EU's legitimacy is still more precarious as a political institution. The EU Schengen area made it possible for Europeans to move between borders and is seen as an overall net positive. But the ability for Europeans to move freely between borders may also exacerbate pressures on the countries that are facing an increasingly older population. Rural regions continue to decline in population, while urban regions continue to grow. And this phenomenon does not just happen within countries, but, more importantly, concerning the stability of the entire European Union, it happens between countries within Europe. As there is an outward migration of younger people to urban centers due to better economic opportunities, Central and Eastern European countries will continue to face even more demographic pressure that can weaken their economic growth and social support systems. And when that happens enough, for a long enough time, that people get increasingly concerned about their younger neighbors leaving for better economic opportunities elsewhere, the ramifications for the political institution that seems like it is accelerating that process can be huge.
All right.
Well, Europeans, pop out some kids. I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I don't know. This is what, like, a lot of the, like, people who are, like, there's a lot of wealthy people who are saying this. Like, Elon is saying this, and I don't know if Bill Gates is saying it. I don't know. I think maybe he might be saying the opposite, actually. But,
I don't know.
The one thing I do see that it's an issue is because, like, the workforce from the past whatever and now is paying for the older generations to be able to pass away, like until they pass away, right? The retirements and everything.
It's like part of our...
Yeah, but then like when we're like in our 60s and 70s, if there's like such a shortage of young, they're not gonna, no one's like, we're gonna be fucked pretty much. Or unless we like
looks like it.
Well, unless like you like build your own wealth and stuff like that, that's a different story. But like if you're know,
saying by this system, yes.
But like by a general retirement system,
yeah.
It's like we're not gonna be able to rely on a normal 401k or whatever, retirement system. It's not gonna last like how it has been.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be as sustainable by the time we're that age.
No.
As maybe it might be for people in the next like 15, 20 years. I don't know. Maybe
they're gonna have to think of something different. Yeah. Or the people are just gonna be like, work until you die, pretty much.
I mean, what's the average lifespan for a human nowadays?
I think it's getting smaller.
It's like maybe like 80 in your 80s?
Yeah, 79, 80.
So why are we retiring in our 60s? Like that's not...
To get like 10 years.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Even like, 15 years, whatever.
I also don't understand how like 50 is considered the midlife when you're not. If you're lucky, that's your midlife. Your midlife for most people is like 35, 40, maybe 45. For most people.
I'd say like 45, yeah.
Like 45 would be like pushing it. Most people aren't living to 90. I mean, I don't know. Every old person I knew that died before they were 90. So.
My grandma, I think, passed when she was in her 90s.
She did.
God, I think my grandpa just turned 90.
He turned 90?
Yeah.
I thought he was still in his 80s.
No.
Good for him. And
Yeah.
he's still full of life.
Full head of hair. Yeah.
So
All right.
dumb.
All right, guys.
Are you
Sorry, we're going off
surprised?
on a
Look at
tangent.
But yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting video to learn that. Let us know like your opinions or anything below, and let us know recommendations of stuff. And guys, please head over to our vlog channel. Check it out. We know you like it.
Yes.
All right. Peace,
Description is the link.
guys. The link is in the description. Peace.